Hello there, everybody. This is Rob, the baseball time traveler. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to take you through 30 of my favorite cards. This is my 30th video. Just finished my first year, and as some of you know, I've been offline for quite a while due to a horrific family tragedy I'm still dealing with. But I wanted to dedicate this video to my daughter, my oldest daughter, Megan. She was a prolific artist, and I chose 30 of my favorite cards that are art-oriented as opposed to just photographs of the players. So I will go through there, and then at the tail end, I'm going to present my plans for 2025. I'm going to continue to do some of my documentary style videos highlighting certain World Series games, other historic baseball games, and football games this year, as well as I'm going to focus on the 1930s baseball era. And you see right in front of you there some of the magazines and programs that I've collected over time, and I want to get in depth with some of those and show you some of the articles and talk about what baseball was like in the 1930s, a very important era in baseball, but also in world history as well. So let's get to the cards, and I'm going to start. We're going to go from the youngest to the oldest card. And some of these most of them are baseball. We've got a few non-sports cards. We've got some football. We have some rugby cards. I was a former rugby player, so I do collect those cards on the side as well. All right, so let's get to the cards. Again, these are my favorites. I don't have any big dollar, big grail cards, but these are cards that all mean something to me in some way, shape, or form. The first card is the 1953 Topps Irv Noren. This is special to me because I bought my first baseball glove and set of cleats from Irv Noren. I met him with my dad. He owned a sporting goods store and a bowling alley in Pasadena, California when I was a kid. So this has a special meaning to me. Next card is 1952 Topps of Eddie Waitkus. I plan to do a video on Eddie later this year, and I thought this was a really beautiful artistic card from the 1952 Topps set. Next is our first football card. This is Doak Walker, 1951 Bowman. Doak Walker was a former Heisman Trophy winner and a very prolific runner for the Detroit Lions in the 1950s, and the college running back of the year is named the Doak Walker Award. Next, our first Brooklyn Dodger card, Duke Snider. Thought this was another great artistic card. The detail, colors, 1951 Bowman. 1951 and 50 Bowman set to me are some of the most artistic cards out there. And here's yet another one, great portrait of Hall of Famer Gil Hodges. And here's our next football card, again from the 1951 Bowman set, Benton Yablonski. Wonderful colors on that. St. Louis Cardinals. Another football card. This is Cloyce Box. Again, artistry is what I picked these cards for. And we have the most valuable player from 1947, I believe. This is Bob Elliott. And here's one of my favorite cards. I think it rivals the 53 Pee Wee Reese in some respects. This is Ferris Fane, 1950 Bowman. This next card, first time I saw it, I said, I'm right back at the Field of Dreams, that famous movie from 1989. And we have Stan Lapata. Reminded me of Ray Kinsella's dad, the final scenes of that movie. Great movie. I'm sure most of you have seen it. Next is a card. It's actually technically from 1982. but it's a artistic representation of the 1939 play ball of Joe DiMaggio. And that's an autograph that I obtained back in 1982 through the mail. Next is from the 1941 play ball set. This is Frank McCormick, prolific hitter with the Cincinnati Reds. And the reason why this card is important to me, artistically, I think it's a great card, great representative of the 41 play ball set. But it's also time-stamped May 6, 1942, and that's why it received a low grade. But this would be 6 months into World War II, just prior to the Battle of Midway. And following along on the military theme, we have 1939 Gallagher card for Clark Gable, who in 1939 starred in the famous movie Gone with the Wind. Next card, one of my 1934 to 36 Diamond Star set, Hall of Famer Bill Terry. Little beat up, shows its age, well-loved card, as they would say. But I think it's a great artistic rendering of Hall of Famer Bill Terry for the New York Giants. Back to a couple of military cards. This is World War I ace, Baron von Richthofen, the Red Baron, and this is from the 34 set. This would be a military version of the Diamond Star set. And I've got 2 or 3 of these cards that I want to show you. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I read a book about a guy called the Balloon Buster. And he was a famous aviator in World War I, young guy, brash young guy from Arizona, went over to France and became known as the Balloon Buster because he was a fighter pilot and his specialty was bringing down balloons. And this would be none other than Congressional Medal of Honor winner Frank Luke. And his fellow pilot often flew with him, a guy named Joe Weiner. I thought it was coincidental that they both received a 4.5 grade from SGC. All the cards you're going to see today, I collect cards ungraded. I like doing that. Kind of makes it fun for me in the hunt, and it's a real thrill to get the grades back. Some are fantastic, some are disappointing, but for the most part, I just have fun collecting the cards, and I preserve them in the slabs just for later use by my family. And here's a 1935 Edwards Ringer and Big. This is designated as American football. And I have several of these cards. I really found these very artistic. And what I'm talking about is this. I actually bought there's 3 different versions of this card. And I thought it was interesting that I bought them all separately and they all came back with the same grade. This is the 1929 Churchman's card. This is the 1930 British American Tobacco version of the same card. And last but not least, another of the 1935 Edwards Ringer and Big. And in that same set, the final card of that set is the 1930, this is the 1935 Edwards Ringer and Big of Babe Ruth. And I'll bring it in a little closer for everybody. And this one got a 3 grade. To me, it's perfect on the front, but there's just a little bit of, I'll call it residue. You can see there towards the middle of the card, and I think that brought it down. But either way, this is a beautiful card, and you'll see the 1929 Churchman's version of this in a few minutes. All right, next card. This is a card that is representative of the Olympics, and I'll be doing some Olympics-oriented videos later this year. This is from the 1936 Moulin Frank Olympia set. And this is the United States rowing team, Boys in the Boat. If you've seen that movie, you can appreciate this card. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. It's a great, great true story of a collection of 9 young men from the University of Washington who did very well. I won't be a spoiler, but I'll tell you that it's well worth watching the movie. The next card is from the 1932 Sonella set, and this is the football version. What caught my eye is that it's actually, if you look there, it's identified as a rugby card, even though we recognize it as a American football card. Speaking of rugby, this is from the 1924 Olympics. Were held in Paris, and this is a great postcard. And the reason why 1924 is important for rugby is that in 1920 and in 24, the United States of all countries won the Olympic gold medal. And rugby left the Olympics after 1924 and didn't return until about 25 years ago. And they don't play the full rugby now. They play 7-man rugby, which is a much more exciting, fast game. I think more tuned into the current crowds who many of the world doesn't even know how rugby's played, especially in the United States. All right, so let's get back to baseball. As I promised earlier, this is the 1929 Churchman's Babe Ruth. And I think this is just a great card. This is a artistic rendering of a photograph that I believe was from the 1925-26 game that Babe Ruth played at Griffith Stadium. Next card, we'll get back to rugby here for a couple minutes. Hope you guys enjoy this. I don't know if any of you out there play rugby. If you do, good on you. And if you don't, it's a great game to study and watch. If you know the game, it's a fun game to watch. This is from the 1925 Church cigarette set. Again, artistic rendering of the game. And next card is an individual player, Scottish International. I thought this was a great artistic card, and I've got several of these. This is from the 1927 Players cigarette set. And for any Olympic aficionados who watched the movie Chariots of Fire, this is the 1923 card of Eric Liddell, who won the 400 meters. It's a famous movie. It won Picture of the Year in 1981, I believe. And Eric Liddell was projected to win the 100 and 200 meters, but declined to participate in the 100 because it was contested on a Sunday. So he was switched to the 400 meters and ended up winning that race and set a new world record. Eric Liddell. Going back even further in Olympic history, now we go to the 1910 card, Hassan cigarettes, of Harry Porter. And again, a great artistic rendering. Harry Porter won the Olympic gold medal at the 1908 Olympics in London, and he cleared the amazing height of 6'3", which I think high school girls are doing these days. So back then, though, they used a different technique. It kind of looks like the Fosbury flop that is commonly used today, but this was actually a scissors kick that they used back then. And yet another Olympic card. This is the 1910 Mecca cigarettes for Johnny Hayes. Johnny Hayes won the Olympic marathon, and this was a famous race because an Italian runner, Pietro Durande, led the race, actually came into the stadium within the last few hundred yards of the finish line and collapsed. And while he was being assisted across the finish line, Johnny Hayes ended up coming into the stadium and he was declared the winner. And now we go to my oldest card. This would be the 1901 W.O. and H.O. Wills card. This is rugby card again. And we'll close it out just to prove that I was a rugby player. A little self-made card here. I had a lot of fun playing rugby, and I'm going to be doing my 15 minutes of fame with Thurman Munson from 1977. I'll be doing that video down the road here. All right, now as far as plans for 2025, as you can see in front of you, I've got several magazines and programs, and I said my focus was really going to be on exploring different articles, showing cards. I've got plenty of cards from the 30s that I'm looking forward to showing you, and these would be magazines that I'll show you a couple of examples. We've got, sorry for the delay there, but just want to show you a few. This is the November 39. We've got Bucky Walters and Joe DiMaggio, who faced off in the World Series. Here's the February 1939 of Bob Feller. Everybody recognizes this young man, Walter Johnson. And here's the 1939 Ernie Lombardi. So those are just some samples of what we're going to be looking at. And I'm looking forward to a good year ahead. I hope all of you had a nice New Year's. And if you have a chance, let other people know that I'm back online now. I've done 3 videos in the past month, but I think people kind of lost track of where I was. So I just want to say I'm back. And again, I wish everybody a happy and healthy New Year. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.